Welcome to the Satluj Podcast. Sikh Youth UK is a British non-profit organisation co-founded by today's guests. It exists to provide education and help for the young generation of Sikhs, particularly in the Midlands here in the UK. The organisation has also often been at the vanguard of several major initiatives designed to both raise awareness of key issues affecting the community, but also to provide practical help to those in need. The organisation's stance in highlighting issues like, for example, the plight of Deepa Singh has brought it into the crosshairs of the British establishment, who have gone to extraordinary lengths to try to bring it down and silence it. Today's guest knows all about that firsthand, but it is the organisation's latest initiative that we're going to talk about and focus on today. Deepa Singh, welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Welcome. Thank you, Angus. Appreciate it.
A pleasure as always. Now, Deepa, your latest initiative, this new campaign that you've launched, can you talk us through it, what it's all about?
Of course. So, coincide to what's been going on in the community and the current climate in the UK, there's been a bit of a backlash. And we've been found on the receiving end of some high-profile, serious, racially aggravated rapes on our girls, supporting the families and the victims. And there's been an initiative to do some wider support in the community. One of those was, as always, we've always given out personal 1,000, which we launched for Gurpub last week on Sri Guru Nanak Dev Ji Maharaj's Gurpub. We launched a national Sikh safety campaign. We've got a lot of people involved. We tried to distribute as many as we could. We've got another delivery next week. We're going to be delivering more. We've covered quite a bit and we're going to continue to cover it. Whilst delivering these, we've produced a double-sided leaflet in English and Punjabi just to help people keep safe and understand the current climate and the political climate that's going on in UK at the moment.
So, Deepa, this initiative that you've launched then, and including the leaflets, you've been, I understand, dishing out a lot of rape alarms. And what else is involved in the process? What other sort of things are you dishing out?
So we did a seminar the other day, a national seminar. It took place at Guru Nanak Prakash Gurdwara in Coventry. It was a national seminar. Lots of people attended, and it's to help raise awareness, get people to understand. As Sikhs, we need to be politically smart, so understand the current political climate and help support and safeguard our community. And that was the main aim that we do in the seminars. So there's education out there. There's being street smart and alert alongside. There's a lot of self-defense classes out there just to help them coaches implement these being street smart and being aware and these alerts that a lot of people in the community won't know about. It's important that they implement these in their classes so they're teaching not just only self-defense but being street smart at the same time.
And what's the attendance been like? Has it been a good turnout, and what sort of people are turning up to these seminars?
Yeah, the attendance has been good. The response has been good. There's some videos that I'll send you, and you can play them to the community following the podcast. Once we were distributing these alarms on Gurpub and thereafter, the reassurance that people are coming forward with is incredible. They're feeling safer. They're giving these alarms to the senior ladies in the community who are walking to the Gurdwara early hours. The reassurance they're feeling and the gratitude, that response has been fantastic.
And I suppose, of course, it takes an enormous amount of resources and time and effort, certainly on your part. Can you talk us through how much effort it's taken on your part, but also from the funding side? Of course, thousands of rape alarms cost an awful lot of money. Can you talk about the whole resources that have been poured into this whole project?
Of course, a lot of people in the community, we've always sourced alarms. We've been giving them out for 10 years, 15 years, ever since we started the org. I think it's a time like this when people actually appreciate it. So people are sourcing them and making sure we get them so we can deliver them and distribute them. And there's some very good people in the community making sure that happens. There's also Gurdwara are taking it upon themselves to help support. A lot of them are contractors. So a lot of times goes on to organising the logistics, the deliveries, the drop-off, making sure we got regional coordinators at the locations to help give out. A lot of people have got their little self-platforms, should we say. So they've got their own self-defence classes, they've got their own events happening, and that's where they're sourcing them from us with the leaflets and giving them out. One of those clear examples was there was a massive Asian clothes show last week, Asiana, I'm not sure the exact word, and one of the girls sourced them for us, and she was giving them out at this massive clothes show. So it's important that the word's getting out, the awareness is getting out, and people know where to come for support as well.
And as you talk about the awareness, of course, you're I guess quite active out in the community. Are you active on social media? Have you had any other sort of organisations helping support this whole initiative?
Yeah, lots of orgs, loads of Sikh activists are all part of this, male and female. It's really good. Honestly, I've been working on campaigns for many years. This is probably the best response we've had as a community. Everyone working in sync, a lot of unity, really great feeling at the moment. You know, to counter all that negativity is really important. So there is, psychologically, there's a lot of positive happening as well. That's what I'd say.
I'll talk about the negative side and the whole hate crime issue in a moment, but certainly it's become a much higher profile issue, certainly here in the UK, not just in the UK, in fact, across the diaspora in other regions and other nations as well. But from a state perspective, from a government perspective, have you had any assistance from the British state, or even any acknowledgement of your initiative from the state?
Look, mainstream media have covered it. I'll just be totally frank with you. The politicians use this as political leverage for their careers. We've been talking about grooming of Sikh females for many years, the religiously motivated aspect of it. They've downplayed it. They've downplayed it so much that they actually did reports to counter it. They funded millions to counter a report we did to counter that narrative. And now when something suits their agenda, a racially aggravated rape, it was read out, the Home Secretary and the Prime Minister spoke about it within a couple of days in Parliament. That's the difference.
I think that's quite an important point there you talk about, Deepa, is of course, the politicians are always happy to use issues like this as political footballs, as they use it. They're always very useful when it suits them, and then they're convenient.
Of course, and just to jump in there, you know, like using our sentiments and our issues for their political gains or leverages, you know, and we won't tolerate that. Obviously, we're happy for people to support, but it's not really like you shouldn't be using our girls' issues as your political careers.
And of course, there is a bigger story behind all this. This is the rise in hate crime. Are you, as a community, obviously you're experiencing this, which is why this initiative has been launched. But what do you think, in your own opinion, what do you think is behind, what are the root causes behind this recent rise in hate crime?
Look, people are fed up. The British people are fed up. The public's fed up. The country economy's bad. Everything's going bad. And when it comes to the grooming, this is just a revenge of the grooming gangs, be all and end all. People are doing these crimes and Sikh girls are facing the backlash of it because of this. It's the backlash of the grooming gangs. People haven't condemned it. They haven't. Look at this inquiry that they launched at the beginning of the year. It hasn't got nowhere. So where the state's failing, you're pushing these issues. It's not justified, but that's the reason why it's happening. And that's the be all and end all. Because of they've neglected the grooming, that the backlash of that the right is rising and the climate's bad, and people are looking at a backlash. And because our girls go to work, they're coming back from work. If you look at the two rapes, both of them were going about their days. One was going to work in Oldbury, and the Walsall one, she was coming home from work. So it shows it shows clearly how times are really bad.
And one thing that's really struck me, of course, Deepa, is the way that the Sikh community is treated very differently from the Islamic community for some reason. We do know that, for example, the government has actually allocated, as ring-fenced, a whole budget to protect mosques and the Muslim community as a whole. But that hasn't been reflected in the Sikh community. Any reason why not? Why do you think that's the case?
That comes to our weak leadership and our community not taking control and putting out what's right. and if we did, and if we were all in sync, it would be on this campaign we've done. Everyone is in sync. However, there's people in the community being put there by the state that divert our issues and they don't let it happen. So, like other communities work collectively and strategically together. Ours will never.
And one thing that I find very noticeable about this issue, it does appear to be women who are particularly vulnerable to this. Of course, the high-profile rapes that were reported, but of course there was that attack on those taxi drivers. I think it was in Oldbury. It was.
No, that was Wolverhampton.
Oh, Wolverhampton.
The two taxi drivers in Wolverhampton.
Yeah, beg your pardon. Do you think women are more vulnerable in this current climate? And if so, why do you think it's women that are particularly being targeted?
Well, the women are being targeted because of the backlash of the grooming. That's simple. They think they can get some sort of form of revenge, and they're taking it out. And by sod's law, it's our women because, like I said, they're the ones going about their day-to-day business. When it comes to our identity, again, I will differ with your views on this because Sikhs stand out, our identity with a turban and beard, and that's why our taxi drivers are being targeted. The elderly Sikhs are being abused. Even Gurdwara are being attacked, like in Nuneaton as well. So, the climate is bad for Sikhs, definitely.
And actually, that's a good point because, of course, it does raise the issue of the whole, in my perception, the Sikh community is almost collateral damage in this bigger story because, of course, there is a rise in racism, there is a rise in right-wing extremism. And, of course, as you say, the Sikh community is much more visible by virtue of its articles of faith and things. Do you think the Sikh community is being unfairly targeted? And how do you think? What are the best ways to try and combat this in terms of the wider community, the wider society?
That's a good point and a very good question. What I think strategically as a community, we need to sit down and make a collective action plan, how we do this, because we shouldn't just fall for the left-wing politics here either, because they also are the same ones who religiously motivated and exploited our girls for various exploitation reasons, be it financial, sexual, or even radicalizing them. There's been cases of that side of the left-wing side politics which have not condemned our issues, and they've let our girls be radicalized, ready to go to Syria and Palestine. So on that side, we're not happy either. So collectively as a community, we need to sit down and make a collective strategy going forward, how we tackle it. There is a lot to do. It's not an overnight process, but this campaign is a very, very good stepping stone in the right direction.
Yeah, that's another important point that you make there. It's actually, it doesn't seem to be the flavour of politics that really affect the overall issue, in that certainly we've been equally, I would say, rude about the Labour government as we have been about the Conservative government, because they do tend to use these issues as I say, as political footballs. Have you, in terms of giving our audience, and perhaps those certainly not from the Sikh community who might be watching this, to give us an idea of just of the day-to-day sort of hate crimes that the community is subjected to? Of course, there are the high-profile issues that reach the headlines, but from a day-to-day basis, what sort of things is the community experiencing out there in the streets?
Definitely, there's road rages, people's views and opinions and change. There's people bullying in workspaces, racial slurs being used, while in corporate workplaces. We've had a lot of complaints. There's a lot of crimes that have come forward, people speaking, and I'm talking from professionals' perspective. And like I said, the response to this, people are doing it. However, I would like to say at this point, there are people also like to fuel this narrative as well, just so they can get some government funding, and it uses it for their leverage in their political careers as well. A lot of people are using this for that as well. These will be Sikhs posed in the community, but they work for the state.
Yeah, that's an interesting one, because again, when we talk about the Punjab, for example, on our daily show Perspectives, we've almost sort of coined this phrase of fake Sikhs, and there do seem to be these people who've almost infiltrated the community with a very different agenda. Are you finding? I mean, obviously, it does occur in the Punjab as a report regularly. So you are actually seeing this here in the UK.
Oh, yeah, we've been noticing this for a good few years, to be fair. They set up pop-up organizations. They're all government state-funded orgs, all in sync with the authorities. So they're the pop-up orgs. They get the funding. They're the ones sitting there pushing the narratives and just like collecting data and whatnot for their own political leverages in their careers. Definitely, they're there for that. They're there to downplay certain issues, but push up and fuel the ones that suit their agendas. Definitely, there. A lot of us in the community, the organisations, know who's who as well. So it's not that it's not going unnoticed.
Is this happening in the Gurdwaras or just in the community as a whole?
Gurdwara are quite safe, to be fair. They don't let people in, bar one or two, which some committees may be affiliated with these people. But the gist of it, the majority of the community know who these people are.
And to give us an idea of what sort of people that we're dealing with here, what is their agenda? Is it Hindutva, which obviously are very active? We certainly know in the diaspora using this sort of methodology. Is it Hindutva? Is it other agendas?
I think it's more UK state agendas, yeah, to keep us controlled, keep us divided, infighting, those types of things. That'll be more strategic games being played just to monitor people and orgs who are organising strongly in the community, if that makes sense.
And this is actually an area that I have to say, from a relatively impartial observer, it baffles me, is that the Sikh community, you only need to look on social media on a daily basis. Whenever a Sikh issue reaches social media, when, for want of a better description, white people see these issues, very often there'll be a long list of very positive comments from the white community. Definitely. Saying, oh, we love Sikhs, my dad served with them, my granddad served with them, etc. So there's this great outpouring of really positive feelings towards the Sikh community. And yet the British establishment, the British state, for some reason, does seem to have this completely opposing sort of view. And certainly as you've experienced in the past, why do you think this is? Do you think it's historic, related to relations with India, or do you think there's something else?
It could be a number of things. One could be the recent trade deals. Definitely they need to, be subservient to India there. And keep colluding there. So certain things like that. Even if you look recently, the news hit that the intelligence agencies knew about Avtar Singh Kunda. So there is a lot we can talk about. I do think it'll be another show for another day, though. That's what I'd say.
Yes, indeed. There's loads of issues I'd like to talk about, certainly Avtar Singh Kanda being one of them. But in terms of, if we come back to the original initiative, which is very much the positive story of all this, where is it going? Where do you think this is leading? Do you think it's going to have a big impact and a big benefit to the community?
1,000,000%. I'll tell you again, I've never had a response to a campaign like I have on this one. And the amount of people are really working well together to make sure that we make a difference collectively, honestly, is brilliant.
That's marvellous to hear that. And unfortunately, we must leave the conversation there. But if indeed you have any questions that you'd like to put to Deepa, you can, of course, message us directly and I can get in touch with Deepa and pass those along. Or if indeed any comments that you'd like to make about this initiative, do let us know. But in the meantime, thanks very much, Deepa. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you, Angus, and appreciate it.
A pleasure as always. And thank you for watching the Satluj TV podcast. We will see you next time.